speed together through the 1,000 valleys of KwaZulu-Natal. Then they come together at the confluence. In between there are ravines, rapids, inhospitable bush and big white water to tame. It's a challenge that has lasted for 50 years. And this challenge always asks the question, are you man enough? The Powerade Dusi Canoe Marathon, proudly brought to you by Powerade.
Another record entry for the Powerade Dusi Canoe Marathon as the A batch speeds off. And on top of that, it's the 50th edition of this great race, starting here at the Natal Canoe Club. Up ahead, more than 120 kilometers worth of racing, and they tell us that the water level for this year's edition is medium to low. That should make it more fair and square for the runners as well as the good paddlers out there on the river. Let's find out what defending champion in the K1 section, Martin Dreyer, had to say before the start of the race. As far as racing by yourself and not against the other guys, or racing against the river, particularly with a view to day one, how do you approach that?
I think the guys are really good paddlers, so you've got to race your own race initially. They'll be, the first 40 minutes is all paddling. They'll be getting their lead, actually wanting to get a little bit of time between us and them. So as far as that goes, I'll be worrying about myself until the portages, and then hopefully get some splits on how far the guys are ahead and how hard I'm going to have to go to try and catch them.
So intrinsically, it's really down to the old story. It's the guys who run well against the guys who paddle well.
Yes, but unfortunately, there's some guys who can paddle well and really run well. So I think our work's cut out for us.
As the batches left, it was clear that the big and powerful sprinters would test Dreyer and the other runners to the limit, and his words proved to be prophetic in the end. One of the other men who is more than capable on the water as well as on terra firma is 1998 K2 winner, the young man, and start from Pietermaritzburg.
I haven't really felt any pressure because this is my first K1 Dusi that I'm actually racing flat out. So for myself personally, I'll be happy to be in the top 5. Obviously I'd hope to do better than that. But there's a lot of people wanting me to do a bit better. I suppose there's a bit of pressure from that, but I don't really feel that because I'm racing for myself, I suppose.
The first big obstacle after the start is the Ernie Pierce Weir, a frightening 5-meter drop. Joining us for the commentary is 4-time champion Mark Perro. Mark, how do you approach Ernie Pierce?
Yeah, it's very early in the race. There's everyone's on top of one another. You need to try and get a bit of space and hit the bottom wave square on.
Back at the start, the women got the gun, and the hot favourite was 1995 champion Antje Manfroni. But frankly, she didn't feel like she was carrying the title quite as of yet.
Not really. I'm not carrying it yet, but well, I think everybody's got a good chance. The 50 miler was pretty tight, and it's going to be the same girls again, and I think the scenario is going to be very much the same.
Looking back at last year's race, viewers on Supersport saw you struggling with that ankle. That was very brave. How much did you learn from that race, and how much do you bring from that race into this year's race?
I should have had a sponsor last year because I got so much coverage. He would have been so happy. What I've learned is that, well, you can, whatever happens, you can make something positive. And well, I was very happy to finish last year. It wasn't as heroic as it hopefully looked, but in the end, it also was a lot of fun. People helped me a lot, like Wayne carried me down the hill on the last day and that kind of thing. So it was a very nice team spirit.
Lastly, if you had to rate out of 10 your chances of winning, give me a figure out of 10.
Gee, this is very, very difficult because in a Dusi anything can happen. Look at my last year, so I won't venture a guess here.
The route for day one is a testing one over almost 40 kilometres, starting at Kampsdrift, then through 3 or 4 treacherous rapids and weirs to the day's first big portage, Campbell's, a 6-kilometre long uphill run. After almost 20 minutes worth of racing just before Commercial Road Weir, it was 22-year-old novice Hank McGregor in the lead, closely followed by 19-year-old Len Jenkins and another 22-year-old Stott. The Young Turks were stamping down their rather young authority, but McGregor almost got himself into trouble here. Mark, a tricky part coming up.
Probably one of the most tricky parts of the race, Commercial Road. Again, everyone fresh, jockeying for position. The rocks are just below the surface. There's no real right or wrong place. Oh, did very lucky there to stay up.
McGregor does indeed stay up, closely followed by Jenkins and by Stott.
The water level was at a medium level, which certainly favoured the stronger paddlers. Again, Hank McGregor just holding off Len Jenkins, with Ann Stott still in third.
Right from the word go, the pace was fast and furious and asked everything. Luckily, the weather conditions lent itself perfectly to a wonderful first day, with none of the normal warm and humid temperatures at the start. Media liaison man Ray de Vries was also very happy with the state of the 50th race.
Unbelievable. Third year in a row, Arnold, and it's going very well. You know, thanks to Powerade, we've got a really big entry this year. I've just checked now, in fact, 1719 is the final entry. We might get a couple still this afternoon. But yeah, all is well on the Powerade Dusi front.
So the official line about the water and the safety and the clarity of it?
As far as Dusi gets go, there was always a risk. The quality at the moment is relatively good for this time of year. It's only about, the measurements are about less than 1,000, say 200 eco per 100 mils right here at the start in Camps Drift. If, say for example, if 100 people get sick on the Dusi, that's still 5%, which is about normal for this sort of endurance race.
But what is normal? Are you normal if you even attempt this sort of thing? To have asked from these paddlers at the Ernie Pierce Weir would have been a mistake. A big mistake. In canoeing parlance, they call this taking a swim. One can see why. Mark, this is not really the way you want to start your day, is it?
No, not at all. We can see Keith Elliker there getting wet and battling to get back into his boat. A lot of time to make up and the wrong time of the race to take a swim.
Nine-time Comrades Marathon champion Bruce Fordyce got trapped under the water in his boat, and the police divers got him out of certain trouble. The great ultramarathoner was shaken. Mark, I'm convinced that for the first time ever, Fordyce realizes that this is not all that easy after all.
No, nice to see Bruce taking a bit of strain.
I'll get it out of him. Come on, in the car. Mess.
Come on.
Back, and that's what always happens to the person in the back. But I'm alright, we're going to carry on.
The first of many swims for Mr. Fordyce.
Another celebrity pairing was surf ski champion Oscar Tulupski, who is partnering the diminutive former flyweight world champion boxer Baby Jake McLala, who was in there somewhere. Meanwhile, Fordyce Sans paddle was instructing pilot Malcolm Stoddard on which lines to take from there on in.
Probably a good thing with Malcolm's driving.
While McLara thought it would be wise to leave that to the big man in the front of their vessel. They wouldn't forget Ernie Pierce Weir easily. At the first portage of the day's Surridge Farm, the race was shaping up, and defending champion, the only man over 30 up there, was Martin Dreyer, but Len Jenkins was starting to make the pace hot at the front.
This portage is only taken by the leaders. The back markers wouldn't really take this portage. It doesn't shave off that much. It's worth about 40 seconds to the leaders and cuts off a crucial horseshoe.
At the Campbell's Farm portage, the young Peter Maritzburg mechanical engineering student had established a lead and a pace that would hardly be challenged. He's learnt the hard Dusi lessons and should have had a shot at winning 2 years ago when he chose a wrong route. This year, in his fourth Powerade Dusi, Jenkins had done his homework. Now, all he had to do was perform up to expectations. And Stott, in contrast, looked like he was taking strain on only the first big portage of the day.
a crucial point in the race. Len Jenkins has just gone past Ant Stott. Ant's walking, Len's running, and he's really pushing hard to try and break Ant mentally now.
Up next was Dion Bruss, closely followed by Witz's Piers Cruikshank, who was having a sensational start to his race.
Yes, the schoolboy had a great race. He'd never been in the top 10 in the singles before.
Former salmon fisherman Dreyer was trawling in different big fish and had moved up from 9th to 5th on the portage, his strongest suit. He was 80 seconds behind Jenkins.
Dreyer will be pushing really hard now to try and close the gap. This is his terrain. This is what he's about.
Wayne Volek was next, and he was labouring.
Here at the top of the Campbell's Portage, it's clear that there are two ways to skin a cat. 45 minutes into the race, coming from the bottom part and running virtually all the way, and the other paddler coming the other way. It was Ant Stott who took the hard route, and young Len Jenkins who pushed the shortest way on the water. Just shows you there are more than one ways to complete all the rough and tough obstacles during the Powerade Dusi Canoe Marathon.
On the other side of the portage, there's the checkpoint, and the traffic there showed the huge interest in the 50th edition of the continent's most premier race. Andrew Edmonds set the pace for the paddlers in this group.
The leaders all electing to run hole-in-the-wall portage. It's a lot quicker than the paddle at that river level condition.
Up ahead, Jenkins was putting down the hammer and was well under the record for day one, held by my co-commentator Mark Perrault. Fighting back a minute behind was Dreyer, who, as he had predicted, was making up time on the run. Here he passed Piers Cruikshank.
Dreyer had to make his move. He really needed to push hard at this point in the race. This is his strength, it is his strong leg. He needed a gap by the time he got to the water.
And then Dreyer blazed by, and Stott, who himself is no slouch on the run.
Dreyer was absolutely charging. He's really pouring on the power and going straight past Ant Stott as though he's standing still.
A very steep hill there, which we can't really see, but here Dreyer does something very interesting.
Yeah, it's a very steep hill. Now there's a steep decline back into the river. Dreyer dropped the boat, grabbed it by the handle, now he drags it into the river. It's a lot quicker running, dragging the boat behind you. Ant's doing exactly the same thing.
Julie Andrews would have been justified in breaking out in song. The hills of KwaZulu-Natal were indeed alive, but to the sound of straining muscle and sinew as the silver medal contenders battled it out. Mercifully, the weather was playing along, and the overcast conditions kept things cooler than normal. Back at Commercial Weir, there were paddlers paying the price for taking the wrong line. Maybe that's why they call it commercial. Mark back to the sharp end of the field, and Jenkins was making it a one-man race.
Jenkins very confident, very young, inexperienced, 19 years old, but he raced a fantastic race. He raced with a lot of maturity. He established his lead, went for it early, attacked when the other guys were weak, and then he just held on. He absorbed the pressure and held on. Paddled a fantastic race.
And Dreyer was going as hard as he could, but did not make an impression on the youngster.
These guys are running really hard. This is a very steep climb coming up to the top of Guinea Fowl 1. It's very hot in that valley, the air's not moving, and they are pouring on the power.
The top then of Guinea Fowl, as Piers Cruikshank, or schoolboy to his friends, makes his way up to the top, followed closely by Dion Bruss. At Mission, the South African police were taking the horsepower option. But it looked like Len Jenkins was employing the same type of propelling. He was flying along and ever increasing his assault on your 1997 first day record.
Yes, they were very quick this year. They're starting an hour earlier. Made a bit of a difference. The cool conditions, but the guys were in top form and piling it on. They'd done their homework, they'd done their preparation.
Dreyer was in his 5th Dusi, while Stott's off-colour running was costing him clearly and dearly, and he was drifting even further back.
And didn't look his best. I think he peaked at the 50 miler, where he won by an incredible 11 minutes, and he was really not quite there this year.
Cruikshank was next, almost 9 minutes down, and the valley was abuzz. And a little later, Mission proved to be, you know, a real mission. It looked a little bit like a Friday afternoon on the M1 at Chila time, and Fordyce and Stoddard, Mark, were at it again.
Yeah, it looks like that was Bruce's second or third swim for the day, and they're still a long way out from the finish. Malcolm Stothard, Bruce's partner, really making hard work of that route through Mission. Normally quite straightforward, but Malcolm really battling.
Chalupsky, on the other hand, glided through with Matlala wisely shouldering arms. Then, in true soap opera style, this parallel parking would cost Lauren Midgley from Epworth School dearly. First, there's the plot. Then, the diversion. Heartbreak. And, you guessed it, finally, tears. Igoli and its scriptwriters would be very proud.
Oh, the boat's badly damaged there. I think she's out of the race.
Well, Mark, not quite. That's what the great spectators are for. This is the Powerade Dusi, and some of the greatest spectators in the world. The boat was mended, the tears were wiped away, and Miss Midgley would finish in 15 hours and in 27th place.
Fantastic effort with a boat in that condition.
As for Master Jenkins, he was busy obliterating Mark Perro's 1997 mark by no less than 17 minutes, clocking a time of just 2 hours and 44 minutes for the first day's trek. It was indeed a stunning performance. The 19-year-old had shown maturity way beyond his years and had time for a swim and a chat before eventually Dreyer paddled into second place.
Len Jenkins, having prepared exceptionally well, spent a lot of time in the Underberg area training for the event. He paddled an exceptionally good race, very fast time, and I can't believe how fresh he looked after such a fast time on the first day.
Then Dreyer paddled into view. The 1999 champion was 2 minutes and 31 seconds in arrears.
Just a little bit too much to be behind Jenkins with a long paddle coming up for day 2.
And a rather dejected Ant Stott, who was billed as the pre-race favourite, was more than 4 minutes and 30 seconds back.
Len, would you call this the perfect 100%er to open up the 2001 Dusi with on day one?
Yes, well, I think I had a very good day. Nothing went wrong, no mistakes, and I'm looking forward to a good day tomorrow.
You left the guys fairly early on. Did you feel the pressure of being in the front for so long?
Well, I paced myself nicely, so I didn't sort of blow 10 minutes into the race. Really conserved a lot of energy by riding the other guys' waves, and had a good day.
Martin Dreyer, defending champion, in second place after day one. Was this a good day for you on the water?
I'm very happy, Arnie, for what the result is. Considering the high caliber paddlers, there were 6 guys who we thought who were going to be going for first, and if I'm second right now, I'm very happy.
As for the women's race, the betting was going according to the book there, in contrast to the men. Former doubles world champion Antje Manfroni had quietly tiptoed away from the field and was enjoying a 4-minute cushion.
A fantastic performance from the Wits paddler, normally her weekday, great position to be in leading after day 1.
The surprise package of the day was Cape Town food student Abby Medima, who took second after being on the water for 3 hours, 40 minutes and 42 seconds. And she still had time for a lovely smile at the end of the ordeal.
Antje, tough day at work today?
It was actually a wonderful day, especially the last couple of Ks when Anya was ahead. Yeah.
Did you expect to have a 4-minute lead after day one?
No, most definitely not. It's a running day, so it's not really my day. And I'm enchanted.
Well, the race has always had an enchantment for its competitors, but none more so than for its own royalty, the Dusi King, 15-time winner, Graham Pope Ellis.
The Dusi Canoe Marathon used to go through our family farm, and as a kid, we used to go and watch it each year, and that's basically how we got started. And we found a boat that had been abandoned by one of the competitors who had a fight, and we picked up this craft and we renovated it and used that playing in our dam and in the rivers and so on. And that's how we originally started, was actually seeing it. In 1964, we did a few trips, recce trips with with the top paddlers, Charles Mason, Tank Rogers, Ernie Pierce, and then in 1965 we did our very, very first race. And we paddled with Richard Heckland, also a farmer from the area, and we were 17 at the time, and we came fourth overall, fourth in the double section, and we came sixth overall. The first year I won was in 1972 with Eric Clark. The first year I won in single was in 1981. I was challenged by Danny Biggs, and that was the first of my big challenges against Danny Biggs was in 1981. And it was a tremendous race because we changed positions 4 or 5 times every day. And Danny Biggs was a tremendous athlete. He'd never give up, never ever. And right to the death, we kept at each other, passing each other and trying different tactics. And in some places he would run, and some places I'd be paddling, and so we would pass each other, and so on and so on. So it was a great race, and it was really a nice, tremendous win. There are so many choices to be made, and that's what makes this event such a tremendous event. It's an event where you've got to race the race that suits you. You must know your body, and you must control your body. There's no kilometre markerages or milestones, or you're in the bush. You can't pace yourself like you can when you're running the Comrades Marathon. You can say, I'm going to do 4 minutes okay, I'm going to do 8 minutes okay, whatever the case might be. It doesn't happen out there. You've got to know your body. You're running over ploughed fields, and you're running through bush and long grass, and you've got to duck and dive. And so every part of your body's got to be absolutely peak fit. It's just that it's such a pity that the river can't accommodate more people, that more people can share in this great adventure and this great race. And sure, it is disappointing when you get to a rapid and you've got to wait and queue up because there's 10 or 20 people ahead of you. It is sad, but that's change, and one must accept it.
1, go.
Women's leader and men's leader, they get the off on elapsed time at the start just below Dusi Bridge here, and that's the start of day 2 of the 2001 Powerade Dusi Canoe Marathon. Antje Malherbe and Len Jenkins, the 2 leaders, and Jenkins starts 2 minutes and 31 seconds ahead of Martin Dreyer. But everyone here at the start is asking whether yesterday's effort took a lot out of young Jenkins Jr. and has Martin Dreyer saved enough for day 2 on the flat water? We'll find out right here on Supersport.
The overnight stop at the Dusi Bridge decked out in its party colours, and again the day dawned misty and overcast. Day 2 is always a tough day with the Inanda Dam lying in wait.
Day 2 is generally the longest day of the race, a big paddling day, lots of water, only 2 portages, the Saddles and Numeni Hill, and then you've got a good hour pull on the dam.
Dreyer got his off 2 minutes later.
Martin Dreyer, an extremely tough competitor. He's not going to give up at all, and the few portages that there are, he'll be running to his absolute maximum to try and minimize that gap.
Cross-country and half-marathon runner, the 21-year-old Abby Medimer, was set off in pursuit of the 29-year-old Manfroni.
Another very strong runner, same mould as Martin. She'll be trying to close the gap.
And then Stott got his marching orders. Mark, the chances of him and Dreyer working together on the flat water?
I would have thought Ant would have tried to get ahead of Martin and break away and try and close that gap on Len Jenkins. This is the day for Ant Stott to make his move.
Meanwhile, Jenkins had opened up the taps at the Saddles portage and knew that the 2 men behind him would probably work together to catch him. Difficult little in and out here.
Yes, it's a run paddle again, very quick ins and out. You need to be very agile and be able to get in and out of your boat very quickly. Just a short paddle across the stream and then out again, running for another over the next hill.
Jenkins looking very aggressive in his approach and doing everything very smoothly and very deliberately.
Yes, he's very controlled, he's not rushing, he's nice and steady, and he's consistently opening the gap.
Dreyer had his seconds on hand to keep hydrating him and changed drinking bottles, but a slight mistake coming up from your winning partner in the year 2000.
Yeah, Martin really pushing hard, trying to close and trying to really get back into the race. This isn't his day. Day 2 is very difficult for the runners, and he's battling to keep in contention.
Looking for a place to put the boat back in the water and not really finding it, and precious seconds ticking by here on day 2.
Yes, I think he's put in a little bit too far up. The place where we normally get in is just a little bit further down.
Manfroni, a former German and world champion who now teaches English in Johannesburg, was giving the other women a lesson and was looking every bit a champion in the 50th running of the world's biggest canoe race.
Punch is very, very strong on the water. Former world champion, really strong. And this day 2 was really her day.
Dreyer, needing to push hard, chose the wrong line here, or was he taking the cautious route?
No, he's taking the right route. He's just missing washing machine over to the right. The route he's taken, no real chance of damaging your boat, fractionally slower but minimizing your risk. This is the confluence of the two rivers, of the Dusi and the Umgeni rivers. A very tricky section of the race, big water, big drops.
Race leader Jenkins, with his cutting-edge technology, lightweight paddle and revolutionary designed stealth boat, was doing a faultless paddle, while Dreyer drifted 3 minutes and 45 seconds behind his younger foe.
We see Len Jenkins' technique has really improved a lot. He spent a lot of time with the South African national coach Nando Almasi. Unfortunately, we've just lost him, but Len has had the benefit of being coached by Nando, and it's really paying off on this year's Dusi. He's very efficient, very strong and very controlled. Martin Dreyer hard pressed now to keep the gap on with Len Jenkins. All he's got to do is try and maintain it and make sure he's close enough to within striking range when he gets to Burma Road on day 3.
Still had time for a quick smile and heard the gap there too. 3 minutes and 45 seconds.
The gap has grown. Martin has slipped behind.
Starter had won the Land Rover 50 miler, the Vaal Clean Water Challenge and the South African K1 title, and took fourth in the Sella descent in Spain last year, had the perfect build-up. What he was uncharacteristically out of sorts again on day 2.
This day 2, although he did have the fastest time, it just wasn't enough. We were all expecting a lot more from Ant on day 2 and really trying to get right in the picture and close the gap on Len.
Jenkins had a slight scare at Willem Shoot when he bumped the nose of his boat quite hard and then had a slight fall, but he got through the rest of it unscathed.
Yeah, they've taken a small risk by coming down Willem Shoot, and most of the other competitors will be portaging on the right, but they've minimized the gap. Just a short portage on the left, and they back in again and then paddling off towards Arbisweer.
Treacherous underfoot conditions here.
Yeah, it's very difficult, it's very rocky, it's very difficult to move very quickly, and there's always the chance that one of the guys can sprain an ankle. Kevin White sprained an ankle in this year's race.
Well, no big drama for Jenkins. Dreyer, meanwhile, had steadily kept going and started quietly caught up to him. Crunch time came at Willems when the defending champion stayed right and out of harm's way, while the full-time paddler elected to take on the big water.
And Stott really taking the risky option, but it certainly paid off. He closed the gap and he was right on top of Martin Dreyer at the bottom of the rapid.
Slightly further back, there's a rapid named Washing Machine. Why is it called that? Just stay tuned and watch.
think that's going in for another cycle.
The Chalupsky Matlala duo just punched their way through the water with that 68-kilogram weight difference in the boat.
I don't think Baby Jake was coached by the same coach as Ann Stott.
And the washing machine was not programmed for a quick spin cycle this year. On Numeni Hill, Jenkins was coasting and looking completely in control, but this is one of the toughest obstacles in the race.
Jenkins is picking up some more juice. This is about the halfway mark of day 2. You really need to drink a lot. He's still got the big pull across the dam and still another 50 minutes to get to the dam.
Jenkins was still more than 3.5 minutes up on Stott, but there seemed to be panic in the camp.
Water, water, water. Where's the drinking water?
Where's the drinking water?
I'll do it.
The drinking water.
Where's the drinking water?
Come. Come. You get water.
Give it to him. Hey, wait. Hands. Come on, boy. Go, boy. Go, boy. Everyone's hands. Go, boy.
The local population were amazed at the antics of the paddlers, seconds, and even the supersport crew. But for Martin Dreyer, who had slipped to third, there was a different route to the crest of Numeni Hill. Trying to save a little bit of time there, Mark?
Yes, the route forks off to the right. And Martin's obviously going to try and drag his boat down Numeni's and try and pick up some time on Ant and Len.
The water point at Gauging Weir was a hive of activity. Mark, these truly are the men and the women who make the Powerade Dusi Canoe Marathon what it is.
Yes, you really need to hydrate. These people look after you the whole way. There are 3 or 4 watering stations on each day. Without these watering stations, you just can't carry that volume of water on you.
Repairs to the boats, making sure that the rudder is still okay, and then there's continuous running repairs. And where does it hurt? Not that far down, she's saying. And then it also helps to do the odd stretching, and I mean odd. Watched by his father, Len Jenkins Sr., himself a Comrades and Dusi gold medalist, Jenkins was past the halfway mark of day 2 and still enjoying a 3-minute and 45-second lead over Martin Dreyer, who had reclaimed second place from Stott after the latter had taken a slight swim.
Jenkins still looking very comfortable, in control. He's paddling nicely. He's still holding and conserving himself for the big pull across the dam to come.
Up next, your doubles partner, and looking slightly slower than what the leader was.
Yes, but the important part for Martin is he is still ahead of Ant Stott. All Martin's trying to do is get to the dam ahead of Ant Stott, and then hopefully him and Ant will be able to work together and whittle down that gap that Len Jenkins has opened on the 2 of them.
Quite clearly, Mark, when 2 men get together like they did indeed, it's a lot easier to hunt someone down who's in front of you.
The person sitting behind is getting about a 10% saving, but he's paddling down the wave of the person pulling in the front.
Antje Manfroni had cemented her lead and had increased her time gap dramatically over the Capetonian Medema. And in the men's race, the gap was in contrast, decreasing with every stroke.
Martin Dreyer and Ant Stott pass yet another one of the landmarks here on the Inanda Dam, and up ahead by about a 2-minute margin it's Len Jenkins, but the race here for first on day 2 of the Dusi was certainly on in a big way.
Jenkins, who was fading in the last few Ks, had enough left to hold off the chasers and was looking at the finish, but the gap was ever decreasing. This time, he cracked the nod for day 2 just over the 3-hour mark. The Maritzburg Tech student had taken strain on day 2, but remarkably up front all by himself had retained the lead. Stott and Dreyer pushed each other along to a new second-day record, and another one of your records gone, Mark.
Yes, unfortunately so.
And Stott, Martin Dreyer, that was one heck of an effort on the dam. The gap is now down to 1 minute and 10 seconds. Was that a combined effort between the two of you on the water?
Definitely. Martin worked really well on the dam, and I just kept encouraging him, and he just kept going faster and faster. So without him, we definitely wouldn't have closed the gap so much.
Martin, it was a day of great ups and downs and yo-yoing up at the top 3 there.
Yes, it was quite exciting actually. I just tried to hold off Ant until Nungameni, but when I went through Willems, I don't know the route so well, I got out and did the portage, and he actually went wah at the bottom, and I almost fell out my boat. He didn't take the splash off, he shot it clean all the way down. And then just to show what a class paddler Ant is, we go into the weir and he shoots gauging weir, which is normally not the norm. When you up in the front, you normally take it safe. So Ant, yeah, we did work together on the dam. We were evenly matched from halfway, but then towards the end, Ant was very strong. I was just hanging in on his wave.
Antje Manfroni was making her own waves and coming into her own on the flat water. She increased her lead even more.
That was one heck of a performance today. Were you going all out?
I was going all out from the bridge where at the start of the dam, but before that I've been taking it rather conservatively so as to not mess up in the rapids. And I didn't have one swim today.
That's 2 in a row, so that sounds good for tomorrow as well. Although paddling on the dam, that's obviously your pudding at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I didn't dig paddling alone. I was hoping that someone was going to come past and I could snatch a wave, but it wasn't.
What are your plans for tomorrow? Around Burma or over?
I've never gone over and I never will. You can take that for serious.
For others, day 2 had all sorts of surprises in store. These two gentlemen spent almost 10 hours on the water.
You had a bit of drama there. What happened?
Yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare. We wiped out at... Where did we wipe out? At Tombi.
Yeah.
And we've swam the whole way down from there.
And it's badly broken. Going to be in time to get it repaired for tomorrow morning.
If Eric's Canoe Shop here, they'll be repairing it for us.
Let me hear from your partner while we survey the damage, how bad it was. How bad was the swim at Tombi, and how did this actually happen?
My partner's a nightmare.
Why come? How come?
Can you see the size of him?
And there were many other nightmares amongst the 1,200 boats, which resembled giant toothpicks on the banks of the Inanda Dam.
Young Mr. Fraser, long day out there today?
Oh, it was really hell out there.
How come? What happened?
We broke our boat just below Marion and Foley. Well, actually we were stuck there for about an hour, and then we managed to, the Navy guys pulled us out, and we hadn't gone 100 meters and we broke our boat, and so we spent half an hour. So the locals helped us for the price of a watch to get the boats off the rocks, and then we fiberglassed it and it was drying while we ran.
What's it like having the old man in the back?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's much better than having him in the front.
While some competitors' equipment was left out to dry, others were sitting high and dry. Sorry, that should be low and wet.
Bit of trouble there. What did you do to this?
We tried folding the boat in half, didn't work too well.
These boys are not... Oh, okay, but you had to dig fairly deep there, didn't you?
No, look at the wall.
Ah, there's the stock of beers. Are you boys sure you're going to last another night with all...
I don't think so, it's going to be a rough one.
We're going to have to go to Sabine up the road for tomorrow morning, yeah.
Folks, we're just checking to see whether you realize that you're doing something illegal. You can't actually install that in the boat. Is that what you're trying to do?
Arnold, we just thought we'd put a little mini outboard motor in, just help the little lighty go a little bit quicker.
Okay, was it necessary after today, or is that just a precaution for tomorrow?
No, we thought we went a little bit hard today, so we'd just help the little lighty along tomorrow.
It looks like they're rather quiet. Do you guys have trouble and that you have to catch dinner tonight, or is there at least something stuck away to eat for tonight?
Absolutely not. We've actually got to catch our own bloody meal tonight. We've got a shit chef.
Who's the chef?
That gent there.
Okay, well, he's doing nicely with the potatoes, but I don't see much else. Let's just go along there and ask the chief chef how much trouble he's in, because it doesn't look like he's going nicely over there. See, that's not a bad bunch. You're doing a nice job on the... What else is for dinner?
What else? We've got fish. We got a guy there.
No, you don't have any at this stage.
No, we had one, but we had to tag and release it.
You know what these women are like.
No, I don't, tell me.
A marriage license should be like a vehicle license. It expires once a year.
Well, a brand new contraption which we've never seen on Supersport before. It actually reminds of one of the Apollo machines, but let's see if it works. Just want to pop in here and see. I don't know who we're going to catch here, but
somebody.
Excuse. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I just wanted to. Is it sorry? I just wanted to know. Is it really hot water?
Yes.
And what's the shower been like?
Oh, it's excellent.
Sorry for disturbing you. Thanks for talking to us. Hello. So
Hello.
do you realise you went into the loo which says ladies?
It doesn't say ladies, it just says open.
No, trust me. Look at this. Look at this. Let me. I'll demonstrate this to you. Look at that. It says ladies.
That's right, Arnold.
Are you slightly embarrassed or not?
No, I'm not embarrassed at all. If you want to have a look down there, you can see I'm a lady. It's just that I've got small breasts.
All right, I'd rather not look, but nonetheless, that may be finable, actually, but thanks for doing that.
Super. Arnold, thanks, all the best, and it's great to see you guys here.
Likewise.
Thank you.
After all the jollification of the overnight stop, it was back to business and the racing on the morning of day 3. And here on Supersport and on Mnet, you've seen a lot of movies. Let's look at this as a movie. If you had to compare the 3 men at the top to figures in the movies, well, Robocop, without doubt, would be Len Jenkins with his dramatic domination. Secondly, James Bond's award would have to go to Martin Dreyer, who's been very quietly and charmingly working his way up. And thirdly, Superman's title would belong to Ant Stott. How will this movie play out at the end of the day? Let's find out. And Mark Barrow, going through day 3, it's all about one big climb, Burma.
The river level was a bit low. When the river level's low, Burma Road's certainly an option. It's a very, very tough climb, very difficult, and there's some big rapids around that section as well.
The Dusi and the Umgeni have come together, and their collaboration flows into the huge Inanda Dam in the middle of the Valley of 1,000 Hills. But Len Jenkins just had one of them in mind at the start of the final day, Burma and how to conquer it. After Dreyer and Stott got sent on their way, it was clear that the 69 seconds lead was slender, to say the least.
Len's out there on his own. He's certainly be feeling the pressure. He's got 2 big, powerful paddlers coming after him. One will be resting, one will be working. Len's going to be doing all the work, all on his own, all the way to the dam wall.
The dam wall and the heavens have been busy over the Natal Midlands, and there's the proof. The portage around the wall gave the youngest Dusi contender the first opportunity to stretch his legs on yet another coolish day. Stott and Dreyer had worked together on the dam, but amazingly Jenkins had stretched his lead on them already.
Len had paddled really well to open the gap on the chasing 2 boats. It was going to be incredibly difficult for the 2 boats now to reel him in.
A very dramatic moment here for Martin Dreyer.
That's the second time Martin had hit something with his canoe. On the first day he ran into a tree, and the tree actually hit him in the face, and he had a blood nose for the first half of the race.
Tops Needle is a great landmark of the 3rd day and dominates the skyline. It was business as usual for most, and at Umzanyati it was exactly the same for Jenkins. He was judging his energy, the river's mood and the race absolutely perfectly, and that is the perfect combination.
Very smooth, very controlled. He's driving exceptionally well. Doesn't look like he's under any pressure whatsoever. Looks like he's out for a Sunday afternoon picnic.
Again, Stott had got away from Dreyer and was surging to try and catch the flying Len Jenkins Jr., but it was all to no avail. And Dreyer, who's known as a tough competitor, but not even this former deep-sea Canadian salmon fisherman could rattle the 19-year-old that was heading the field. Manfroni had a huge cushion of 9 minutes and even had time to ask spectators for the right line at Umsanyati. And then picked it perfectly. At Tops Needle there were several swimmers and the police divers had their hands full. less than 16 k's to the finish, Burma Road loomed and Jenkins, prompted by fairly low water on the day, decided to portage this tortuous 8-kilometre climb.
Len Jenkins pushed really hard on the downhill. He knew he had Martin charging behind him and he had to get to the water first. Len knew if he got to the water first, he was going to win the race.
Amazingly, he was still extending his lead with every step. The pre-race favourite Stott again had a miserable running day, and the gritty Dreyer again passed him to take second place. This time, it was permanent. Jenkins was putting together one of the most impressive single or K1 Dusies in living memory and was steaming on towards a new record. Dreyer, try as he might, just could not make any impression, and the leader was nowhere in sight as the final few kilometres lay in wait.
Dreyer needed to have overtaken Len on the portage and then try and hold him off on the flat water. Now, all that's in Dreyer's mind, I think, would be on that second place and trying to keep Stott at bay.
Stott, who had been plagued by heavy leg syndrome, raced as hard as he could, but knew at this point that his challenge for the 50th Powerade Dusi canoe title was something of the past. The Indian Ocean's azure blue is a most welcome sight after more than 120 kilometres worth of bush, sun, sweat and tears. And this is the sight that greets weary paddlers at the Blue Lagoon in Durban. And it was a sight that many a winner will remember. Mark, what are you thinking as you approach the line, knowing, like Len did here, that you've got it in the bag?
That's the most amazing feeling in the world, a sense of real relief and achievement. You've got all that behind you. Getting to the finish, there's nothing that can stop you now.
Len Jenkins Sr. was the first to congratulate his boy, but first, his boy had to cross the line. For the first time in 3 hard days worth of racing, just the slight emotional jaunt, because there's a little smile there. Well-deserved kudos from the old man, and it was a new record time. A smiling Dreyer took second after mustering yet another fight back. While a dejected Stott had to settle for third, and Mark not just quite his year.
No, he had a fantastic 2001 hasn't started off quite the way he would have liked to.
Looking at the competition you got, obviously the pressure was on virtually all the time, except perhaps at the end of day one?
The pressure was always on, even at the end of day one. I mean, the guys, Martin wasn't far behind, and I was sort of a bit worried when he was 1 minute behind me, sort of chasing me up Burma, and I'm just glad I never got to see him.
Now you're one up on the old man, you've won it. This is something you never did.
Yes, indeed.
Hard day at the office today, Mark?
Yes, Arnie, it was actually, I must say, it was quite hard. Not the first, but Ant and I actually worked together a bit. And then we got out at the dam, but Ant had a better get out and he actually got in before me. And from there, he just pulled steadily away. Got about 1 minute and 20 at the start of Burma. Managed to get to him about halfway up Burma, and the real sportsman that he is, he actually let me go past. He didn't barge or turn his boat sideways, which I can really thank him for that.
Jenkins obviously just in a class of his own at the end.
Definitely, Len pedalled really well over the whole race. He deserved to win. I just wasn't up to scratch this race, so he deserved it fully.
Manfroni was very much up to scratch, and she made it a 6-year gap between her first and second victory.
A wonderful victory and something you've always wanted to achieve. Now you've done it. How do you feel?
I feel absolutely wonderful. I can't believe it. I just can't believe it.
And after hearing everything about Burma, what did you decide to do in the end?
Well, I'd never go over Burma. That's not even a question. Went around. I swam twice. Well, but it all turned out just fine.
And looking back at it, any moments when you thought that your victory was in doubt during the race?
Yeah, every time I swam. Yeah.
All go well with the 2001 Powerade Dusi Canoe Marathon?
Yeah, Arnold, it did. It went according to plan. We planned obviously a long way ahead, about 6 or 7 months. Everything's worked, so we're very happy.
Amazed at the performances of particularly the young man at the front, records virtually every day and an overall new record. Why do you think?
Okay, we think it's standard is lifted in the last year quite dramatically. The chaps have been able to concentrate on canoeing. The sponsorship's been there in order to allow them to do that, and we're very proud of them.
Powerade's been associated with the race for 3 years. Why get involved with something like the Dusi?
Well, the Dusi offers us a great opportunity not only to interact with a huge the paddling population in this country, but it's also part of our sports strategy, which is to get involved with events like Comrades Marathon, Powerade Dusi, Two Oceans Marathon, which has two angles to it. It's got the high performance side, your top athletes really pushing themselves to the limit, and then you've also got the thousands of people that are out there every day training, running on the roads, paddling, getting ready for events like this. It's about the top sportsmen's goals and also the average man in the street. You know, they're setting themselves goals, they're coming out here, and you know, for a lot of these people it's one of the highlights of their lives, finishing the Dusi, running the Comrades. So for us it's great exposure for the brand, and you know, we're starting to see more and more people understanding the role of Powerade and the role of rehydration in professional and social athletics and sports now.
So the movie of the 2001 Powerade Dusi Canoe Marathon has come to an end, with no doubt the hero in the script, Len Jenkins, in a brand new record time. So in the meantime, from the Blue Lagoon until next year and our exclusive coverage of the Dusi Canoe Marathon, it's back to the Supersport Studios.
The Powerade Dusi Canoe Marathon was proudly brought to you by Powerade.